Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, y'all, and welcome. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Morning, Jim.
The slides will start to flow on Twitter momentarily.
And the link is going up as well in just a minute.
We are right at 9 o'clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are now.
Well, I'm gonna welcome everybody that's here. We're on a uncharted waters on this Zoom and Twitter chat, as well as educational times. We're on uncharted waters, so we're going to try to navigate this as best we can, and welcome any and all kinds of questions, and we'll just go from there. I'm going to kind of be the perspective from the administrative side of this thing, even though there's more administrators. But I'm going to do that, and just starting off. And I'd like to say from an administrator side that this point of education, as I said, in uncharted waters, it is most important to address the SEL side of this. And if, just like we are, when kids, parents can see our faces, that's the most important thing at this point.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that right now, our whole goal is looking at what we can best do to help all of our school families, meaning us as educators, our parents, and our kids. And I'm hoping that we can dive into that today.
I'd say absolutely. That's where I am. You know, the community is so big in everything we do, and we're part of the community. So, you know, like anywhere else, especially in Texas, we rally around our schools, especially in the fall. So they look to us for guidance and what we're doing, and so that's so important right now.
I'm Brian McCann. I'm a high school principal from Massachusetts. I have a very small high school, but I can see this whole time of our life from multiple lenses, and I don't think the inequity has ever been more clearer to me than at this time.
That's true. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just because the teachers have loaded up Google Classroom and are expecting that kids are going to work from 8 to 3 every day, I think we have to remember that mom and dad are at home working, and there are families that do not have multiple devices, and to expect that everyone's going to be able to go on the classroom Zoom chat at a certain time might be unrealistic. So I think this is more than ever, this is a time to lead with grace, lead with patience, and lead with kindness. And
So my sense is we're struggling with a new normal here, in
yes,
terms of at least the short term and maybe longer.
I agree, Chris.
I agree, Chris. I think that when we're talking about connecting with our families, and when we talk about what kind of things that we can be doing to connect with them, truthfully, I think that we need to help our families find out what their new normal can be. So what kind of schedule works for them? What kind of ways are best for us to connect with them? And how can we help meet them where they're at? So we need to be doing different things for different families. And that's where we need to make sure that we're building a very, very strong bridge in the beginning on the front end here, and a trusting one, so that they know that they can access us at any time to help, and trust us that they can tell us, I don't understand, or I need help with this.
I think that's an outstanding thought here. I think we also have to go outside of our box and really think, how can we do this asynchronously? So if we're looking forward to do it on parents' time, that we're able to somehow curate these face-to-face communications so parents can access them when it's good for their family.
Just to interrupt for a minute, I wanted to mention that I've just tweeted out the link as was previously tweeted out for the Zoom. If others who are on, Dave in particular, if you're on there, if you could retweet that, just so people are commenting that they want to get into Zoom.
Brought to you by Aveeno, member of
And
the
also,
hashtag
someone has to mute. I hear a television in the background.
Yeah.
Aveeno with
Aveeno.
There we go.
Yeah, it
There
looks
you
like
go.
it was Tim. You can see in the participants whose volume's going up and down and can mute.
Oh, okay. Help me out with it. Oh, yeah, there we go. Good, got it.
Well, lots of people have logged in through Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, but not many are on Zoom, and I fear that they're missing our comments on here if they're just on Twitter.
So I'm just looking at this feed over here, and the person whose Twitter handle is @SocialStudiesTX.
That's Gabe. Gabe. That's
Gabe,
Gabe.
yeah.
And they ask a wonderful question, and it's really what's going to happen to formal observations at this time? And that was a question that was posed to me last week from a teacher, and I said, we have to pump the brakes on everything.
Absolutely.
To think we're going to do formal observations remotely, really?
No way.
I think we have to pump the brakes on everything. And again, I told him that we need to lead. We have to be gracious at this time. If there are areas that teachers need to work on, then we need to address them when we come back. We are looking to establish what the new normal is, not evaluate the new normal on day 2.
That's something I think we need to. We're looking at steps A, B, and C right now. I think formal observations are somewhere down the line, or like R or something like that. We've got a lot to cover, lots and as far as cover, and as far as to get things into our new normal before we even start to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think as Brian pointed out, this time we're going to have to pump our brakes on a lot of formal quote unquote stuff that we're doing, because there is no formality in this. And like you say, we need to approach this with grace and try to meet our kids' needs the best we can where they are, not where we are. And that's really what's going to be important at this time. It's going to be like every child has an IEP technology-wise.
Yeah, that's so true.
The only form we can have is formative. That we know that everything is going to be building blocks and snapshots in time.
I think what you said, Hal, about we need to give grace, like we need to give everyone grace. Like we need to give people the gift of time to adjust to this new normal for the next few months and be looking at, I know in our district, currently we're only closed for the next 2 weeks. That's what it says on paper. So we all know, we all know that
Exactly
it's
right.
much longer than that, but we're only working with a 2-week window right now. So we're trying to focus on how we can look at this 2 weeks and how we can make connections with people, and absolutely giving people grace. We are not making assumptions or judgments about what they're doing, because we really need to keep in mind everyone is doing the best they know how to do. So
Excuse
if
me.
we keep that in mind.
Sorry for interrupting. There's 12 people waiting in the meeting in the waiting room. Hedrick, can you bring them on?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't see it, but yeah, just give me a second.
I'll be able to hop on soon. But I think if we walk into it with that lens that we are looking at this and helping people and trying to meet them where they're at, and actually trying to accept what it is that they need from us at this point, that we will be on a much better path. So again, looking at what you said before, Hal, that SEL side and how we can connect with people at this point.
I'm going to welcome everybody to Zoom and to our gathering here.
She said
Thank
she
you
took
for
care of that
navigating with us on both Twitter and also on Zoom. We've had a little bit of initial discussion while people were waiting to get in, but we'll continue. And one of the ways I'd like to start, if you don't mind, since people have gathered now here, is just invite our panel and welcome to our 4 members of our panel. We've got Tara and Hal, and Chris and Brian, who are all administrators from different parts of the country in the US, and they've offered willingly to be part of this discussion this morning to help us navigate these uncertain times. And so we're grateful to all of them for being with us. And one of the suggestions I'm going to make to start off with is that I posed this question to the panel a little bit earlier, and I'm going to invite people on the panel to speak to, during these unprecedented times in education, what do you see as the role of admin, teacher, parent, and student? Maybe we could start there and then continue with some of the questions that are being posted on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, I grabbed a hold of the administrative side since I'm the senior member here, and everybody bows down to me in that form. But seriously, as an administrator, we're in uncharted waters, y'all, and we have to realize that that's the most important thing. This is as normal like we're doing today. The problems as we as educators already experienced, and we're pretty techie on this side. Can you imagine how parents and students are feeling when they try to log on or do something that has been assigned to them? And one of the things that we talked about earlier, even before we came online during the chat, is that, excuse me, the social emotional side of this is probably our top priority, to be able to extend grace and be able to emphasize where everybody is. And I told everybody this morning, every student has an IEP with us right now, especially on the tech side.
I can definitely jump on from the teacher's point of view. In working with our teachers, and hi everybody, I'm Sarah.
Hello, Christine.
Oh, hi you guys.
Jumping on from the teacher's point of view, when we're working with our teachers right now, just as with working with our other administrators, we need to make sure that we are meeting teachers where they're at, along with helping them to understand that we really, at this point, I've said to our teachers that we do need to, like Hal said, meet teachers where they're at with the SEL point. I told our teachers, do not worry about any part of the curriculum right now. What you're worried about is making connections with our kids. And they have all reached out and talked to our kids on the phone. They have been having Zoom play dates with them in our kindergarten classes and doing some lunch dates. And again, that's assuming that they have technology available. I know that's not the reality in every household. We are blessed that our district was able to offer technology to some of our students who needed it. So again, but I know that's not the reality everywhere. But we said we are fortunate in the sense that many of our parents have access to a phone in which they can do this exact thing and do a Zoom meeting, or allow their child to have their phone and they can actually meet up with their teacher or have a conversation. So just looking at actually building those very, very strong bridges right now, those trusting relationships, and giving everybody grace, like Hal said. Now's the time more than ever that we need to give people grace and realize that they are doing the absolute best they can with the skill set they have and with the resources they have available.
So what suggestions can we make in terms of the parent role right now?
I think whether you have kindergarten first graders or high school kids or me, I just had 2 college kids dumped back in my home, and I was like, what happened? It was so quiet for a while here. But my wife said, even though they're 21, 22, we need a schedule. It doesn't have to be lockstep, but we need to insert a sense of normalcy into our day. So I think if you come up with a schedule, and that could be time to get outside for a walk, time to do nothing, time to put the screens away, time to not fall into the black hole of Facebook, which I have fallen to like Alice in Wonderland too many times in the past week. I think to establish some sort of normalcy in your household, and it could be as simple as coming up with a schedule, a collaborative schedule that stakeholders have a voice in, just like we would hopefully lead school.
And I don't think there's, like, when I look at this whole situation, I was on a Zoom call yesterday. And by the way, hi everybody.
Hi, Craig.
This is pretty amazing that you got a Zoom call going. I'm gonna have to remember this for the chat that I run. Well done. One of the things that I like to think about is like, okay, so why are we going with the system we're going with? And part of the reasons we're forced to. How are we going to address every? You hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you.
Testing. You guys hear me or no?
Hysterical.
Keep going, Craig.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
How are we going to address every single kid and faculty member? And then the biggest thing I see right now is what's going to happen when problems arise. So these are uncharted waters for pretty much everybody. There's going to be issues, and I think, Tara, your points were really, really well said. I mean, there's going to be issues with this, and it has to be around what's equitable for kids and staff, and understanding what's most important. And I think you're right. It's all about relationships, being fair to people, being willing to understand that there's going to be problems that come up and how we deal with them. And no matter what, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to get through this. That needs to be said to kids and teachers, parents. My son is a junior. He's a junior right now, which is a really important year in high school. And, you know, obviously his classes at school are done. We're going to have to go online. My daughter is home from college. She's a freshman. She's going all the way online. And I kind of guess I'll leave everybody with this. I just did a post, and I remember, I've been teaching for 30 years. I remember about 5, maybe 10 years ago, people were talking about online learning and how it was going to take the place of teachers. Like, oh my God, we're going to lose our jobs. We're not going to be teaching. If there was ever a point to realize that's never going to happen, it's right now. Like anybody who thought that a computer is going to take the place of a teacher is realizing that's not going to happen. We matter.
That's right.
It's Craig.
David, you've got the floor. I noticed your hand was up.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that we have, at my school, we're 6 through 12, and we really tried our best to curve the level of academics. Even after the first week, we had to reduce it even more, because there is, I'm seeing a lot of schools out there who are using Zoom, or they're using other things, and they're trying to mimic the regular school day. The reality is distance learning, online learning takes way longer than it does face-to-face. Hal, as you mentioned earlier, it's like everyone has an IEP, everyone has to have individual support, and it's simple math. You know, as administrators, as teachers, as anyone, you have to understand that we're all doing the best we can, and that we have to curve things. We have to say, okay, like I love Laura posting choice boards. I love different things that we're seeing out there that we're sharing together, and we need to figure out how to flip this into more learning possibilities that are project-based, they can do over time, and again, when they have time, because they're all home, possibly taking care of their siblings, possibly looking for where they're going for the next meal, maybe losing the technology because their parents are also stuck at home and using the computers and using the internet. So there's a lot of things that are there, and I just know as this progresses, and you know, our good friend, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, Matt from Maple, Kevin, I believe. They've been in China living with this, and every week they've had to curve things back down. Yeah. So we have to really learn from that, understand the social emotional part, understand the connection, and give feedback as much as we can, even if it's just an email to students saying, hey, I'm glad I got your homework. Hey, great job submitting this. Because they'll become disengaged if there's not communication. That's all.
I just have, Dave, if you don't mind, I'm going to interject another question, and it seems to be repeated in some of the Twitter posts right now. The whole question of assessment, it seems to be coming up quite a bit in terms of where, if at all, do we focus assessment in this?
I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, Chris, I don't want to interrupt. Can everybody mute their mics unless you're talking? You see the mic at the bottom? Can everybody mute themselves?
I've gone ahead and muted everyone, so unmute.
Sorry about that, Chris. Go ahead and unmute so you can talk. Chris, you have to unmute yourself.
Chris, you're muted.
Sorry.
There. Is that okay? Okay, sorry. Question is, when we consider assessment, how does that happen in terms of being equitable? And what about students who don't have access or support? Let's deal with the first question first, about assessment. How do we look at assessment in light of our current reality? And how do we try to ensure equity in relation to assessment? And what does assessment look like?
I think there are some very good technology tools that can help us. Like we can post videos, we can use Edpuzzle to post questions to see if people are answering and understanding the videos. The problem is the swiftness of all this has basically caused professional development to go nowhere. So the issue is that there are tools that most of us have, and there are programs out there for students who qualify for low income to get free internet, especially for the next 2 months, in the US at least, through Comcast and other vendors. So I think part of it is getting those resources to families so they can get online. But then the bigger part is schools really need to take a break, and maybe spring break, if it hasn't happened yet, is the time. But we need to have these type of discussions with teachers to retrain those who have not been flipping, who have not been doing blended learning, on how to use tools for assessment, because there are technical tools that can do it. Now, obviously, you're going to have a situation where students have no technology, and some schools have started providing hotspots. There's been some other things that schools can do. There's liability concerns with that. I'm a huge cybersecurity person. Right now, I just threw that all out the window. So they're using whatever they can. Flipgrid, I don't care if you're under 13, we'll deal with it later. So the thing is, at this point, I think the biggest struggle is we're asking teachers who have not been scaffolded into their instruction of learning blended or learning flipped or creating those lessons for our students to immediately go from go-karts to NASCAR. We're just assuming because everyone had a 30-minute or a 2-hour PD that all of our teachers can now just recreate their lesson plans. And that's a mistake. I think schools need to let kids be kids for the next few weeks, get comfortable in their home. As other people have suggested, families make a routine. I have one with my kids. I have a 10-year-old and 12-year-old. They have to read for so many minutes a day. They have to play. They have to do art. And give teachers real PD in 2 weeks and let them see what it looks like. And then you can do assessment. Otherwise, I don't know how you do it.
Okay,
Aaron,
thanks, Dave.
Aaron has a question. Aaron's got a question as well.
Okay.
Hi, I was just responding to the question about assessment. I feel like any assessment has to be formative and informal. I think there's major equity issues if you do any kind of summative assessment, that would count in the grade book. So my thought is that formative assessment is fine, informal assessment is fine, but it just can't be anything that counts in the grade books. Any thoughts?
Laura, Hal, you going to take that one? And then Laura's got a question up as well.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to that. I think one thing that was mentioned earlier, probably 90% of America is home now. And depending on what technology they have is going to be shared. A lot of us are really lucky that we have several devices that we can be on at the same time. That may not be true with everybody. They may only have one device that they can get on, or most at two. And we just assume a whole lot of things that, like we have, is that everybody can get on when we want them to get on. With families of 3 or 4 students at home, parents working from home, that has to be considered. And I think, David, like you were saying, as an administrator, it would be paramount to get our teachers in a Zoom, something like this, to give what expectations that particular campus principal has, or even as a district has. And I think that's so important at this time. But as you said also, let them play and just look at the formal assessments. I just don't see a way that there could be anything in the grade book during this time. That's my take on that.
Laura, Tara, I got Laura's hand up. If I can get her in here right quick.
Sure.
Laura? I lost her.
Go ahead, Tara.
I'm going to jump in on what Hal was saying. And honestly, the questions about assessment are all fabulous. And I know that as educators, they're in our mind about how are we going to assess and how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that. But again, as we spoke about when we very first came onto the chat today, I think that we all need to take about 10 steps back and think about when we keep talking about Maslow before Bloom. We really need to start there. We need to be talking about how we are meeting our kids where they're at now emotionally. So are we connecting with them by giving them a phone call? Have we connected with their families, you know, by trying, if they have a time? I know one of our teachers sent out a link that said, when are you available? Like, what's a good time to call your home or to do a video chat like this? And that way we're working around parents' schedules. So really being cognizant of where our kids are at and where our parents are at, giving everybody grace. We need to step back and give ourselves grace. Like, we are doing the absolute best we can in a very uncertain time. So give yourself grace, trust that your administration is trying their very, very best and that you'll have answers soon. But at this point, the best thing we can do as educators is make strong connections with our families. Call them, reach out to them, try to see what they need and not be piling things on them. Just build strong, trusting bridges that we can build on over this next few weeks or months.
Thank you. Another question I see that's been raised has to do with, and I'm going to leave it pretty open-ended because I see a number of these. What about our students with special needs? How best to work with them, support them right now, given our present situation?
You know, I think that's probably the $1 million question right now is how do we do that? And I've been posting a lot about it on Twitter. This is something that's very central. This is my job, is overseeing our special ed department. And so we're going to learn like with everyone else. There's some good resources out there. I'm working on putting some together as well. Things like using, you know, embedded tools like speech to text or one-on-one, or, you know, I think asynchronous is also going to be something that's going to be very helpful. It's going to take some doing, and like you said, we're going to learn together, but one step at a time. That's you know, that's my mantra, and we're going to learn together. And as I learn, I'm going to share. I'll share what works, what doesn't work, and crowdsource, because we're all this together, and we're all going to learn together, and that's the only way we're going to move forward.
I think that's the wonderful.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Are there
I'm not
any
sure.
other questions that have been posted, Dave or Hedrick, that you see?
We just had somebody, Sandro, you want to go ahead? And we're checking the feed as well.
Yeah, Cristobal, what I wanted to know is on, I think it was Thursday night, Mike Murata from New Jersey was online. He was doing a live thing regarding assistive technology stuff. And he has a whole list of things that he created. I have it in, I was on a meeting yesterday morning, and between him and someone else, I forgot who it is, there's a whole list of things about how to deal with the IEP issue and stuff like that. I'll put it into the chat, the link, the Google Doc, so that way you can do it. But there's a lot of things in there to, I actually sent it to my special education department, you know, making suggestions of what they could do. But I wanted you to know about that. I forgot what it was. He was on I think a Zoom or Google Meet presentation that he did, and it has a lot of great things. And Mike is an assistive technology person here in New Jersey. He does this for a living. So I'll put it in the chat for you to be able to use it.
Awesome. I've also got questions from Laura Steinbrink, David Hennel, and Chris Quinn. Can we go in that order? Laura, then David, then Chris.
Okay, I don't remember what my question was. I thought I was answering a question, so maybe skip me and I'll think about it.
Okay.
We probably have our hands still up. That may be the problem. I didn't take mine down.
Oh, I don't. Was it automatically? Yeah, maybe that's it. I'll go do that. You all answer or ask questions.
Well, the big thing I'm seeing online is about addressing IEPs. That comes over and over and over, and how to handle that. I'll speak to what I've noticed is that Google Classroom allows teachers to go in individually. So I am now sharing all of my Google Classrooms with our SPED department. So we kind of communicate back and forth that way. I never know, I paid attention that I could assign work individually, and I've used it once or twice for a couple of kids who just moved to the country who speak Spanish. But I was really happy to know that it has it's a huge advantage to be able to share my classes with my SPED team. So that's something I can just suggest to everybody to go on the teacher side, to make sure that you're sharing that information so they can actually see what kids are doing. We can pull things out, we can add things to, we can modify, add accommodations, and that's really super helpful.
I want to jump in on this one real quick on the special ed side. I was seeing some chats earlier in the week, and I think during this time it's really important to get with your special ed department and probably the school attorney when it comes to delivering IEPs to your special ed. You know, I hate to say this, but there's going to be some special ed parents that may take this opportunity to go to due process. That's just the nature of, and maybe that's where I've been too much in my career. But I've been exposed to that, and I think we have to walk a pretty thin line with special ed in delivering their IEPs. If you think you're delivering an IEP and not, I don't know where that could lead, but that might be something that you could address with your special ed department and their school attorneys.
Can I pop in here? Our district, we started out just in the first 2 weeks of doing a Google Classroom. We stuck every single fifth grader in our district in one Google Classroom. So for the last couple of days, we've been entering over 600 fifth graders into one Google Classroom. And there is about 10 teachers that are teachers on this Google Classroom. What they do every day is that they have a schedule. So on Monday, they have language arts, math, and science. And so they have in their Google Classroom, they're all separated into categories and pick one lesson that they want. So it gives them choice. They get to choose which they would like to do for science. What do they want to do for math? They're all lessons that teachers have created and put into it. Right now, the problem that parents are having is that it's review. We had to make every lesson review right now for the first couple weeks until we can get a really sound ground and running. Parents have reached out that they're upset that they're reviewing. They should have kept going. I mean, we can't make everybody happy right now. So I think, you know, we need to be able to give ourselves a break and a pat on the back that we were up and running as fast as we were. It did create a community within all of the fifth graders across the district because they're all in one Google Classroom. And so it's been very interesting to watch and really building on their friendships. So that helped. Also, we've been reaching out individual teachers through Seesaw and Flipgrid, where every day I do a read aloud for my kids and I post it on Seesaw. And then on Flipgrid, we've been doing just different little things that they get to show and share. And so starting next week, one of the students has signed up to do the read aloud. And so every day they get to do the read aloud and post it on Seesaw for us. So that'll be kind of fun and interesting because we all have the same book. We actually were reading the same book in class, so they all took it home with them the very last day, so they get to read the next chapter. So it's just another idea.
So, sorry, I wanted to ask the question, who is speaking right now? Because I want to work with you.
It's Kelly.
That was Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. That was
great.
My partner in crime.
Yeah, very good. I have a question that I'd like to pose to all of you and just give it some thought. If you're able to connect, and probably many of you are, but if you're able to connect with your students, what message do you want to share with them?
If I may, I think first of all that we care, that we know that they're home and they are struggling. They're going through some weird times too. Whether they love or hate school, this is not the norm at all. It's not the norm for their parents. It's not the norm for their family. that they need to know that we're out there and we care and we're still around. One of the things I wanted to bring up earlier is one of the things we did at our school is we're completely asynchronous learning as much as we possibly can. But we forced, I shouldn't say forced, we asked every teacher to have 1 hour per class they have scheduled for drop-ins. So it's basically office time. Zoom is free right now for anyone in education. I know not everyone has it at home, but I do believe most people do have a cell phone, their parents, whomever. And if you can just create office hours where you know that your kids can jump in and see you like we're doing today, that goes a long way. And also, we really need some support, and hopefully districts are getting it for our English as second language students.
Yes.
Who, even if we make all this great stuff, we're not sending it out in Spanish and Arabic and different languages where our families need to understand what they're doing. And there's also big concerns about that in the U.S. because obviously we have a lot of political situations with immigrants, and there are people who are afraid to even get on this sort of media. So we really, really need to go to our districts and ask for more help with translators and print things out in multiple languages so we can have a broader reach.
Oh, may I jump in here? I don't know if you know it, but Common Sense Education offers curriculum in both English and Spanish, and I believe Google CS First and Interland, their digital citizen curriculum, are both of those things are in English and in Spanish. And so that's one thing that you can always offer. They're fun kind of learning activities, but there are ways to reach kids in their own language. Brian, I think we've got your hand up as well. Brian, you there? There you go. I unmuted you. You're up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, David. I thought those were outstanding ideas to do office hours. I mean, so simple, and we can very simply do that and relay that to teachers. I love the idea of principals around the country have had town meetings virtually as well, gathering groups of people. I guess something similar to this. I think there are a lot of crowd apps out there, which I haven't tested, so I don't want to recommend them to people. What would I tell my students? I would tell them I miss you. I think about you even though we don't see each other face to face, and it's going to be better. And I can't wait to see you again in person. And hope you do a little bit of schooling.
I want to just jump onto what Brian just said, and I agree 100%. We need to just let our kids know that we care. Let them know that we miss them. The same thing we'd say to them as we see them walking down the hallways. What do we say to our kids every day? Good morning. How are you? I missed you. Look at your new haircut. You know, there's different things that we're seeing and doing with kids as we're kind of engaging with them. Just keep being who you are, because at the end of the day, our why has not changed. It has not changed even one bit. Our why is that we are here for the kids, and we are here to help our families and our educators keep plugging forward. And this is our new reality right now. This is our new norm. So we need to figure out how to adjust to that and how to meet everybody where they're at. And I think Tamara asked somewhere in the thread, are we saying that we should go to SEL first? 100%. If you're asking, this is my personal opinion, and I think I share this opinion with many of the people that are on this panel today, is that we need to meet kids where they're at emotionally and families and take that first. We've been saying all year that we need to look at SEL even when we were in the classroom. That is such a hot topic right now. And looking at kids' emotional needs to be our top priority, and making sure that they're all okay. Do they have the food that they need? Do they have, someone there supporting them? Are they able to access different things? So truly, 100%, if you're asking my personal opinion, I believe we need to go to SEL first, and that is what I have communicated to my team.
Let me jump in right here. It's 9:40. I know most of us haven't even noticed that 9:30, the official chat time is gone. We are going to be extending it officially until 10 o'clock. So carry on. Go ahead.
Craig, I think Craig wants to say something. I saw a message up from him. Craig, jump in.
Hi, Chris. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm listening to some of the comments, and they're amazing. I think it's Tara. Your comments are really like they're so spot on and authentic. I appreciate that, and I think like what we have to think about, and it's really something. It's not so much of a negative comment, but more of something in reality that I've seen in 30 years. So when we're at school in our physical setting, sometimes we close our doors and we teach whatever way we're going to teach. And some people are really great at connecting, building those relationships, and others are focused so much more on, let's say, delivering content. And it's not a matter of what's good or bad. It's just, that's the reality of a situation. Now that many districts are going online, the why and knowing what's really important matter the most. Like, if somebody is out there thinking about, well, how am I going to assess these kids? What kind of rubric am I going to use? What kind of grade are they going to get? Somebody needs to talk to them and say, hey, listen, whatever you've done in the past, that's not the reality now. What you really should be thinking about is, okay, this parent or this kid can't get connected. What am I going to do to help them? This kid can get connected. What am I going to do to help them? It's not going to be an equal or level playing field no matter what we do. So what we have to do is we have to make it level by the relationships that we build, how we are compassionate with people, empathetic, understanding that teachers and kids are going to need our help. And that's what we should be thinking about. If we want to build an assignment or put something out there, let it be something that's going to make somebody think about how we can make the world a better place in challenging times. Not thinking about what X plus Y is, or even as a health teacher, I'm not thinking about teaching a kid what the gastrocnemius is. I'm thinking about teaching this kid how they can communicate and live a healthy life for themselves. So instead of thinking about the minute details, let's think broad. Let's think about what are we going to do when we get back to actually being in school. Are we going to forget about all the things that we've learned now when everything comes back to this so-called set of normal? Because if we don't use this as a learning activity, as something that's going to make us better as educators, then what have we accomplished?
Great comment. Francis, I think you've got your hand. Craig, thank you for that. That's just powerful sharing.
Thank you. I just want to let everyone know that I've had the privilege to be on some of the Zoom check-ins for the teachers with their students. And everything you're saying is exactly what the students have shared. They've asked, are my classmates okay? What is my class going to look like? I just want to check in on everybody. When can we come back to class? So also being a little bit prepared ahead of time to tackle or, be genuine about their questions was key. They asked me, they said, Ms. Anderson, we miss your office. When will it be open? And so I was thinking about setting up a Zoom where I could have just a doorbell so the students and teachers can check in and have it available for like 3 hours for parents who have questions. So everything you guys are saying, I just wanted to piggyback on that. And thank you so much for your special ed expertise, Hal.
Can I pop in? I don't know if anybody else is there, but I want to make sure that when, at least for me, when I Zoom or yesterday, I had a student struggling and, really missed me. I thought that was so sweet. His mom reached out and asked if I would FaceTime with them. I just want to make sure that we are having parents there when we're chatting with children online. So whether it's Zoom or whether it's FaceTiming, I always ask that a parent be there present with them. I just think that's important to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe too right now.
Is it okay if I jump in?
Yeah. And then Michelle,
so in light of everything that's
up as well.
In light of everything that's being shared right now, I just want to play something for you. The comment about parents. I fed this through my parents yesterday or the day before to my students. Just if somebody could give me a wave if you can hear this, just let me start it. Hang on, I'll do that again.
with my friend the moose here.
I got a moose in the background.
I'm sure I might enjoy seeing him as well. I'm keeping busy with exercise, with reading, with spending time with my family.
My children are kindergarten students, by the way.
And I'm connecting with other teachers all around the world online by using my computer. Well, we're going to continue to be apart for a while, a little while longer, and then I hope we can come back together in the classroom to finish our school year together. It's springtime now, and we talked about what that means outside. Everything is beginning to grow again after the winter. Animals are coming out of hibernation. Warmer outside. I hope we get to enjoy some springtime, at least for a little while periodically outside. At home, I hope you're able to keep up with some reading, maybe do some writing in a book, journaling on
It's almost done.
about experiences at home and what March break has been like. Talk about those things you're reading and you're writing with your family. Practice counting. Practice doing some of the stuff we were doing just before we left for March break about measuring things. You can use different little objects to measure things. You can use straws, you can use erasers, you can use pencils, and use them to see how long certain things are. Sing some songs. Watch some, if you can, watch some Jack Hartnett videos online. Dance with the clown. Most of all, be good for mom and dad. I know everybody's at home together, so I really hope to see you all soon. I want you to know that I love you and that I'm praying, and I'm praying for your family as well. Bye for now.
Chris, sometimes the audio was a little low. What was that, a story that you read to your children? What was that exactly?
No, it was just a message I wanted to share with them. I felt that in Ontario, we're not supposed to be sending resources to parents, to our students, because that's all coming centrally from our provincial government. So that's currently being set up and distributed. In fact, information just came out yesterday for our families. But I felt a bit hamstrung as a result of that. So I took it upon myself to just send them a message. I wanted them to know, as many of you have said, that, you know, we care, that I care. And so I just, through the parents, I just wanted to get that message out to my kids.
Okay, I've got I like that you did that. First of all, I've got a mandate from my campus as well about communication. So I think it's really powerful that you found a way to just reach out and connect, because I'm sure a lot of us are dealing with the same things. We don't want too many messages going out at the same time.
Dave?
Dave, I've got Michelle, I've got
Just-
Laura S.
Just real quick, I work at a Catholic school, and one of the things we did to also help students feel like the day is still in some sort of schedule is we still do all morning and afternoon announcements, and we start with prayer every morning. And what we do is our administrators are just recording it in their iPhones or Android phones, and we're sending out the WAV file through email. So at least the kids feel like they're still part of the community, and there is still messaging that we're sending out. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
I got Michelle, who's still up. Your hand's up. Michelle, are you still there? Are you there?
Yeah. Yep. All good. Yeah. Thanks for this today. This is great to connect with everybody. Talking about the Ontario teachers and what's kind of happening with us. My job in leadership is to support our brand new teachers. We have a new teacher induction program through the ministry, and each board has someone that has to, that's my job. And as we're coming off March break, that's the kind of my class, if you will, are all of the new teachers in our board, and just looking for some help on, for those teachers. We've got lots of teachers who aren't, tech savvy, aren't comfortable with tech, aren't comfortable reaching out, and we have to wait in Ontario for our directives, of course, and that sort of thing. But I'm really loving what I'm hearing all about that social emotional learning. But if anybody has any suggestions in terms of how we can support our fellow educators in this, first, they might be at home you know, coping with lots of, you know, their own kids and trying to you know, all of their own situations and going through their own social emotional learning right now. So if I could get some help with that, I'd really appreciate your insight.
Michelle, I just posted, TikTok is one of the most wonderful quick video things. There are a million silly things that you can do with your family and say hello to your kids.
You're going to get in trouble, Hendrix.
I know. But I actually,
the union person in me just went, ah!
I know, but here's the deal. I specifically texted my kids. Well, not texted. I put it on Google Classroom. You do not have to have a TikTok account.
Yes, that makes sense.
And I put the link on my Google Classroom so that everyone can see the greeting. And do not, I think I said something to the effect of, don't tell your parents that I said that you have to have a TikTok account. That's not what I'm saying. So it was very clear. But the fun thing about it is there are like lots of silly, cute little videos that you can learn to do with your kids. And a lot of the teenagers who are on it, oh, wow, Miss Nichols, you really can't dance. You need help. And it just kind of starts a lot of things. And we have those conversations back on Google Classroom in the feed. And that's what
So the admin in me will tell you, use Flipgrid.
Passionate rebels in our group.
Yes.
Use Flipgrid. If they decide to upload their TikTok videos, that's on them. Okay.
I want to jump in real quick on this, and we've been focusing on parents and students and administrators, but I have this saying that you can't pour from an empty cup. I think we need to also talk about ourselves and SEL with us as much as we do with our kids, because you know, everything is unknown at this point, and we need to recognize how we're feeling as much as our kids, and we need to reflect that to our kids as much as we can without putting more fear, more unknown to them. But I think it's important to take care of ourselves as well.
I agree with you, Hal. I just want to jump in really quickly to kind of touch on that and touch on the fact that now is the perfect time to not lose sight of the things that we've done in our schools every day. When we're talking about morning announcements and things like that, this past week we did a virtual spirit week. So we had it assigned each one of the days we did something different, and then the kids, we have a Facebook page for our school, and the parents were posting the kids' pictures for each one of those days. So of course, St. Patrick's Day is the perfect one to pick. They all were dressed up in their green and their St. Patrick's Day gear, and they did that at home. So we didn't lose sight of the fact that it's still St. Patrick's Day, and we're still talking to all of our kids about it being St. Patrick's Day. We're showing that we're in our spirit wear, and we're posting it out there for people to see on our site, and we celebrated that. Our teachers are doing readings to their kids and posting them on our sites, and they're using a lot of Flipgrid, David. Like, they're using that hardcore. It's been a savior at this time. And but we can't lose sight of the things that we always did that our kids connect with. So this is a time when we're taking time for us. I mean, I know when we have our day of spirit wear this week, I threw on my West Coast sweatshirt and I was sporting that all day, and I felt like I was still part of our community, meeting them, seeing the pictures, doing things together. So at any level, I know our middle school students have spirit weeks and our high school students have them. We can do this at any level and still keep the connection with our kids so they know these things are still happening. As far as talking about like our social emotional learning for ourselves, you know, there again have been a lot of things that have come out, and a lot of companies that are making things available to our kids and our students that are mindfulness activities, and taking time to actually breathe and give yourself grace. We have to keep going back to that. And I couldn't agree more that we need to remind ourselves and build time into our own day to step back and remember that we can't pour from an empty cup, and we've got to put that oxygen mask on first so that we can take care of everybody else.
Out there, I put that actually out there exactly like that. We can't pour from an empty cup. We don't know how long or what how this is going to come out. So thank you all for reminding us to share with ourselves. I want to say two things. Deborah's got her hand up, so I'll give her the mic. And after that, we're into about 5 minutes. So if our hosts can wrap up so that we can finish at 10 o'clock and let it, I know some other people are heading out to some other chats and doing things with their families. So if we can, hear from Deborah and then hear from our hosts. Our panel.
Hello, Hedrick. It's so good to see you this morning. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. I just wanted to say, first of all the ideas I'm hearing today are fantastic. Extra ideas that I have not heard yet, and I've been all over Twitter. And also, as far as Spirit Days, one of the things that my school's doing for Spirit Days is virtual Spirit Days on Instagram, where they're actually keeping points for the classes for the different, I teach high school, so each class gets points, Spirit points. And if they are posting, dressing up at home and posting it on Instagram, they get points for their class. And so I think that's a really good way for our ASBs, keeping everybody connected at school. But I did a online virtual classroom with my kids this week, and they are just so craving to have connection from anywhere outside of their home. And I think having some connection of normalcy and having their schoolwork and having a high schooler at home, I know even though he won't admit it, he does enjoy having something to do that doesn't require him having to be on the game for 15 hours a day. But just to break up his day and to check in. And he had virtual class yesterday with his history teacher, and that went well. And it's just something for them to feel connected outside of their home and not feel so isolated. And I think that's honestly the key. And then, but also adding some normalcy to the classroom environment when you get them, if you get them virtually, just to make them feel like that things are going to be okay. Routine is going to make them feel like they're going to, that some optimism in their life, that the adults have things handled and things are moving forward. And that, that's one less thing that they have to worry about. They just have to worry about staying healthy and staying sane right now. And we're trying to help them do that. So that's all I have. Thank you, Hedrick.
All right, guys, take us home, panel.
I'll jump in first. First of all, thank you, all of you techies that have kept this up and running. And I think this is a great idea to be able to see face-to-face. Twitter chats are great, but I really like this format. On the other note, y'all, just like every Twitter chat that I've ever participated in, it all starts with relationships and community. And if we can somehow keep that going, that they can see our face and we can see them, and like you say, just check in and say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And even recognize some of the fears that they may be having, like the rest of the country. Be honest, transparent, humble. That's what they want. They want that touch, that communication, and any way to maintain that is the way to go.
Hey, Hal, get your hand up there. Let's do this. Ready? All right. Who's up next for our panel?
I can jump in. I just want to say thank you, because without all of you and all of our educators across the country, we could not be doing this. And the work that we've done over the last week has continued to fill my heart. Like, I just keep looking at the bonds that people are making and the way in which people are sharing. And it takes me back to such a happy time, like where things were a little bit simpler and things, like it reminds me of when, like how we would be sharing more in my childhood and like spending family time. And I think if there are blessings that come out of this, it is going to be that people are going to continue to understand that, family is important. Doing those things as a family, sitting down at a meal, having conversations without a device. We're going to go back to some things that our kids really have never experienced before. So it's a matter of kind of taking advantage of this time and looking for the blessings that are coming with all of it. But overall, I can't just say how blessed I feel to be networking with all of these educators and collaborating with all of you. The resources people are sharing are amazing. And just keep remembering, we don't want to work harder, we want to work smarter. So share. If you've done something, share it with people. I know we did choice boards for our kids if and when they want to sit down to do some learning. We keep sharing those out. You need to know that people can do other things if they have these resources in their hands already. So thanks for all you're doing, and just keep positive and keep your sunny outlook.
Thank you, Tara. Chris?
I just want to say, we want to make sure that we take time to take time, and that means as important to our students, our parents, and our teachers, but and ourselves. I mean, it's just so important that we do that. When we meet with our staffs, that we ask them, hey, how are things going? You know, what can I do? What can I do for you? And I think that those little things are going to go a long way, and hopefully that they will, as teachers talk to students, they'll, by modeling that, they'll do the same. The isolation, I guess, is a shock to everyone, and we got to get back to where we need to be. So take time, and remember your why. Your why, like we mentioned, your why has not changed at all. How we go about it has changed, but the why has not.
Great point, Chris. Thank you. Brian, take us home. Got to unmute, Brian.
Hey, how's that?
There you go.
I just want to say how grateful I am to be a part of this, community right here. Being a building leader in a small district, sometimes we feel very isolated, and this is before all of the pandemic, that we're not alone, that we're not isolated, and we need to continue to remind not only our children that, but our teachers that as well, that there are different ways that we can reach out and try to meet people where they're the most comfortable with. I'm grateful for the many ideas that were shared here, things I'm going to ruminate on for the weekend, but I think next week is going to look different for me than this past week. So anyway, thank you all. You guys are great. I love you all.
I want to thank Tara and Hal and Chris and Brian for serving as our panelists this morning. I'm grateful to David and also to Hedrick for all the work they've done behind the scenes to make this happen this morning. And most especially, thank you to all of you who are still with us and who participated this morning in our chat. It's been a kind of a unique experience in terms of using Zoom and Twitter together, and I'm sure we've done a lot of learning as a team from this. Have a wonderful day, and best wishes going forward.